Let me tell you a story about the Old City. When we had the privilege to live here, as you Old City members were in Rebbe Yeshiva Akiva, Old City members know, you get a lot of calls. Can you host us for Shabbos? Can you host X group, Kiruv, X, everything? I remember there was some Israeli tourists that wanted to see religious people light candles. And I brought, remember Zev Lev? I brought this rabbi from Mea Sharim Geula, very sweet, and he just spoke in Hebrew. And by the way, these Israelis didn't realize that religious people don't know how to speak Hebrew. They thought only Yiddish. Anyhow, by the end of his time of describing Hadlachas Neros, they all were crying. Okay, so we know the Old City is magic, especially for people coming. So we got one of those typical calls. Can you host X group for Shabbos night? So I said, right now in this time period, we're just doing Shabbos night with the kids, but you can come in the day. So she says to me, "Oh no, we don't do in the day. It's not so spiritual." Isn't that interesting? When do you feel the most spiritual on Shabbos? Is it when on Leil Shabbos? In the day? In the mid-afternoon? Right? When do most people feel Shabbos is spiritual? When? Yeah. Now, Kabbalah Shabbos is beautiful, but the bottom line is in the beginning, right? When it first starts. But as the day goes on, right? Mid-afternoon, okay, let me sleep, right?
I think Friday night.
Yeah, exactly. Now, there's something deep here because guess what? If you were to interview the Arizal, when would he say the holiest time of Shabbos is? The end of Shabbos. Suda Shlishis. It's a time of Ra'ava. I think I pronounced that right. Okay. That's when but we don't feel that. Why not? You know what I'm teaching. Why not?
For me, luckily I have 4 or 5 grandchildren every Shabbos. On Friday night, the singing and the whole thing, and they all know the prayers.
Right.
And that is the most, alive time.
Right.
Family-wise.
Right. And I think, like you say, Kabbalah Shabbat, the davening. So the bottom line is, one of the culprits of us not tapping into the Arizal's Kavanah is road. The more you get familiar with the experience, the longer it passes, it doesn't affect you the same way, right? We know that's the thing. Also, Hanukkah, right? First night of Hanukkah, the singing, the lighting, geschmacked, right? 7th night, 6th night, it's not the same, right? So this is intentional, okay? This is a battle, literally a battle for life. Why do I say that? Because when you do things by repetition and you're in a relationship or something like this, right? If you don't show up, there's distance here, right? And the reason there's a mitzvah called B'charta B'chaim, choose life. It's a constant mitzvah. Right now, you choose the level you'll be present. How much engaged, how much connected to him. It's in your hands, okay? So let's learn from one of the heroes about this. And it's in this week's Parsha, a word for your table. I don't know if it'll be Sefer Ha, but here's a word for your table, all right? In Parshas Belosecha, Perikes, Pasuk Gimel. All right, wait. Let me open up. The Parsha opens up, of course, Hashem says to Moshe. Then it says, Diber el Aharon, speak to Aaron, V'amartu elav, Ba'alosecha es neros el mul pnei menorah, when you cause the neros to go up, Ya'iru Shivas and Neros. Make sure that there's 7 lights, 7 different lights or lamps putting out light. So what happens next? Okay. Vyas Cain Aaron. Aaron did it. He did as he was. It says Vyas Cain Aaron. Aaron did it, and then it says Kasher Tziva Hashem es Moshe. Aaron did it as Moshe commanded him to. Wow. Moshe conveys instructions how to do the menorah, right? Ready for this explosive insight? Aaron did it as Hashem commanded. Whoa. Is anybody here surprised even slightly that he followed the instructions? You hear everyone hears the question on what's going here? All right? Yes, yeah, please, Moshe.
More difficult, perhaps another difficulty is...
Good.
We often see that Hashem spoke to Moshe and Aaron together.
Right.
You would think that when something specific to the Kohen Gadol, Aaron, that certainly he would be included in that nevuah.
Mm-hmm.
And yet he spoke to Moshe to transmit it to Aaron, which excluded Aaron.
Okay. I'll tell you when. If you can't hear, Moshe just asked. Here's another problem. If this is Aaron's task, specifically Aaron's task, why didn't Hashem communicate directly, or at least to Moshe and Aaron, which it does? Okay. Now I was thinking, I don't know how I'm going to deal with that one. What can I do? But now I realize it's going to be part of the solution. Okay. So let's see what Rashi says. So everyone hears the problem is the fact that Aaron set up the menorah as Moshe told him in the name of Hashem. It says Aaron did it as Hashem commanded. So Rashi says like this, and I hope you'll try to supply an explanation of what Rashi says. Vyasa Cain Aaron. So Rashi highlights those words. By the way, this is a famous thing. What's bothering Rashi? When Rashi speaks, I know you know this. I'm sure you learned it from Rabbi Gold. A commentator doesn't speak unless he has to, right? Unless something's bothering him, or he knows it's going to bother us. So Rashi highlights the word Aaron did so. He did it, right? So Rashi's saying, what's he saying? Rashi says as follows: Lahagid shivcho shel Aaron. To tell the praises of Aaron, Shaloshina. He didn't change it. He didn't change. That's what it says. Now this is still, you could still have the same problem, but let's just review. He's instructed how to set up the menorah, 7 lights, etc. And the Torah says he didn't change. He did as Hashem commanded. Rashi says, no, it didn't say he didn't change. It says he did so as Hashem commanded. Rashi says it's praising Aaron for not changing. So, can we solve this? I'll tell you what, I used a sefer called a Parsha Hamachkima. He brought this point. But does anyone have a solution? Let me put it in classic language. It's difficult to justify the Torah bothering to mention that Aaron HaCohen followed orders in constructing the menorah, and Rashi says the Torah is praising him for not changing. Where's the praise? What's so praiseworthy about that? We're talking about one of the greats. He's like he's tied for one probably, yes.
Well, the question is, why would he have changed it to what?
Right. Right.
He was gonna, light it standing on his head.
Exactly. Exactly. Why? Lenny's point out. Why would I expect him to change? What would he be changing? Yes. Moshe.
It's clear that doing and speaking are not the same. And
okay.
Everybody, when they do a mitzvah, personalizes it, because explaining how to do something and actually doing it are worlds apart.
Okay.
Are absolutely worlds apart. So everybody who engages in an activity does it the way they think they're supposed to do it.
Okay.
And they're adhering to pretty much their instructions.
Good.
Like any manual, you do a tune-up.
Right.
And you do an extra turn at this turn, you gap it this way, you gap it that way. Everybody personalizes it. And this is saying that Aaron HaCohen did not do any of that. Aaron HaCohen did it spitz, like Moshe Beigel told him to do, without
so
even
you're
enhancing it.
So beautiful. Your solution is to say he really totally followed instructions, and most people, there's a little loss in the, what do you call it? Something gets lost in the passing on of the instructions to the thing, right? That's what you're saying.
Not only lost, but sometimes you think you're improving.
Well,
Right.
Wait. From right to left.
But,
I mean, how much change?
no, but he. Okay, good. So wait, Moshe, Moshe, hold on a second. Moshe, can I? Because I want to build up what Lenny's saying before you respond to him.
Before you destroy it.
No, what Lenny is saying is, okay, if it's a sophisticated thing with lots of technical details, then maybe you could make some tweaks and errors or overdo it. The question is, was this commandment to set up the menorah? It says, when you kindle the lamps toward the face of the menorah, do 7 lights. So it doesn't sound like there's too much subtlety here. I'm suggesting. You have any thoughts? Can you look at Rashi and tell me? In other words, was there something, a lot of complex details, l'chora, in this commandment that we would praise Aaron for nailing it and not going too below or above? If you have something, tell me, okay? I just gave you homework. But Moshe, what do you want to say? And then, wait, Rabbi.
We all know that
Rabbi, go.
there's a whole procedure. What they do in the morning, what they do before the Kavanahs,
Right.
Enter the Kavanahs, which lamps are lit first, what direction they're facing, what direction the menorah is facing. There are a lot of details. How far you go up on the steps, you have to bend down. I mean, whether you go up on the steps, is that necessary? Especially when the menorah wasn't that tall, actually.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there are a lot of details involved in the menorah, and they're not all apparently convenient. Why do I have to stop at cleaning the first 2 and lighting the first 2 and not all 7 simultaneously?
Okay, so Moshe is saying that there was a lot of complexity, and he did that. And it could very well be, and it could be they explained that way, and we'd have to kind of just see what was embedded in this commandment in the first 2 psukim. Okay? Yes, Ronnie?
Well, I just have a feeling that I wasn't paying attention. Because...
Dense. I'm sorry. I didn't say
Dance? Did you say dance?
Dense.
Oh, dense. Oh, very nice. And,
Editor, please.
I've
strike it.
always, for so many years, been a soldier inside the business that I worked in, and when one of those guys that I would report to would say, okay, I need you to get this done. There's no messing around. There's no, like, how do you feel about it? What are you even going to necessarily bring to it? You know what you have to do. Call me when it's done.
Mm-hmm. So you're saying, why is Aaron being praised then? Is that right? You're part of the problem.
Who is it that thinks that it's
so praiseworthy?
That it's
okay, that's the difficulty. That's the difficulty.
And how did you get it done? He didn't give you every last detail of how to do something. You weren't a robot. You put in your creative juices, your thought, your planning, your implementation. You got it done.
It's all
No,
about the
when they
results.
give you
An
an order like that,
it's all
you
about
know
the
exactly
result.
how to do it.
He
They
knows
just
exactly.
told you.
Exactly. Get it done.
They just told you to do it because the assumption is that you already knew exactly
How to
the
do
proper order to do it.
But his boss,
And go ahead
his
and do
boss
that.
didn't know what he went through to get it done. necessarily.
Okay, good. So anyhow, I like it, and that's a valid possibility. Number one is that not everybody executes with total precision and doesn't underdo it or overdo it. Okay, that's one possibility. Let me tell you what the Parshas HaMachkima, what he says. He says now, and this is again my raison d'etre. Okay, he said that Aaron did it like this. He never changed. He did it every time like the first time. He was on. He was connected. He did it with simcha and enthusiasm and excitement as if it was Leil Shabbos. He was right in the middle of Shabbos. He's still happening. I'm just using it as a metaphor. In other words, Aaron did it as Hashem commanded, meaning heard the commandment every time. Okay? And that's big. In other words, he didn't do it by habit. He didn't just run through Rashi says he didn't change from the way when he got the original commandment. Okay, now, and that's big stuff. Now, so here we go. Aaron he's up there. He did the same thing again and again and again, but he felt commanded, he felt connected, and he did it with enthusiasm. Okay, question, how do we get there? All right, because this is for sure a message, according to the second solution, that we have to call forth our co-hosts. Now, by the way, I'll tell you, I had a challenge. Okay, that's Aaron Cohen. How do we know that we're expected to be on like that, like 100% and everything? How do we know? I'll tell you, I learned the hard way. When I was first married, my wife's God bless her, is an Israeli, different culture than America. And it's, wedding, and the Sheva Brachos. And every morning I'm like, morning, like this, morning. But as the Sheva Brachos go on, whatever, you get a little tired, as I don't know if anyone remembers, or look at, huh? One's enough, exactly. But like once you're in 3 or 4, or just look at your kid, the kids are getting married, they're exhausted, right? So guess what? Like on the 4th, 5th day, I'm like, morning. And she looks at me and goes, Ma pitom, what's wrong with you? She let me have it. Boom. What, you're not like totally there when you say good morning to me? So, I'm busy. I'm mulling over this. I'm going to shul and everything. And I get to the Kriya Shema, and lo and behold, it says, V'ahavta es Hashem b'kol levavecha, with all your heart, b'kol nafshecha, with all your soul, b'kol miodeh, with all your might. Hashem, come on, I'm only human. You hear? But we see he wants 100% of the time. Not simple. Yeah, everyone agrees to the challenge, and you agree. Well, Hashem wants that from us too. Okay, so we have Aaron up here. Every time he lit, he's present in the moment. Okay, and then we got us. All right, I was thinking of a mitzvah for us to think about, to work on this. So I'm thinking about. I was thinking about Psuki de Zimra, something like that. Ashrei, something like that. You say it 3 times a day. Let's take that one. Okay, Ashrei or Psuki Zimra, doing it day in and day out. What? Yeah, it's a. That's at the end. So the thing is this: we do it all the time. So now we have to think. Aaron did it as if he had just purchased the sefer written by Rabbi Weber called Ashrei, its majesty, its meaning. No, imagine your first time you read Ashrei, something like that excitement. Aaron HaCohen had this, so he's way up here. Point number 1. Yeah, we have to be careful. If we want to get to Aaron, we have to be careful of EVOP. EVOP.
Yeah.
Evop is Roche Tevos. No, yeah, you're trying. Yeah. Guess what? I made it up. If you get this, I'm scared. You're a prophet.
E is for board.
No, Evop.
Alpha.
EVOP. Here, Aaron does it every time. Where are we? Evop is the evil voice of perfectionism. Okay? We get dead in the tracks. You know, sometimes I'll put things on the group, you know, try to do this, let's do this. But we get dead on the tracks really early on, and it's because of EVOP. Let me explain. There's this top, like strategic management consultant, coach type of guy. And he's always doing conferences with like super successful CEOs. And he looks at them all, and I mean, this isn't the first group that he's noticed this, but he says everyone seems unhappy, right? They're making millions, and they're CEOs, and they're unhappy. So he says, you know why you're unhappy, and it's what a shame. You're working so darn hard, and you're not even enjoying it, right? So he said the problem is that he says you're living in the gap, not the gain. What's that mean? That with anything, there's an ideal, like an ideal top of the mountain achievement, okay? So he says these CEOs are constantly measuring themselves about how far they are from 30 million, whatever, the ultimate achievement, okay? So they can never enjoy the gain they had so far, okay? This happens all the time if a person's not conscious of this. So, with, by the way, the Midrash, of course, he didn't innovate this idea. In the Midrash Mishlei, it says like this, that, right, with Hebrew books, you go from left to right, okay? So it says the Kasil's eyes are to the left and the Chacham to the right. So the Kasil, if you look at Shas, let's say Shas is over here and you're on the, he's always looking about what he did not finish in the Shas. Okay? The Chacham says, okay, I moved forward one Masechta, or I moved forward. The Midrash boils it down much less. I did 2 Mishnahs. But wow, yeah, hang around with Rabbi Gold. He just marches forward like the Chacham. This page of Yerushalmi, this page, and if you focus on the gain, you'll get there. You hear it? You'll get there. But so here we're talking about Aaron. He's like, he wouldn't have blown it in Sheva Brachos like I did. Okay? Aaron would have been, good morning. It doesn't matter how tired he is. All right, so it's going to take us a little, you have to be care of Evop. All right? In other words, just realize a Chacham is just saying, oh, I did it once? Hazdei Hashem. Okay? You dance. Okay? So that's number one. But now, let's think of how to do it. All right? How do you bring yourself, you're saying Sukkah de Zimra. I'm taking Sukkah de Zimra or Ashrei. Let's take Ashrei, because Ashrei is, they say of all those, it's the most important one. If you don't have Kavanah, like if you're not relating to saying Poseach es Yedecho must be, you have to do it again. Okay, so let's take Ashrei. That's an important one in the Sukkah de Zimra. And so what do we have to do? How do we get ourselves to feel excitement and connection and focus every time we say Ashrei?
Drugs.
Ritalin. That's right. The Rosh Yeshiva said Ritalin. Or energy drinks. Whatever it takes. Okay? Whatever it takes. That's number one is medicine. No, honestly, let me adapt that, okay? Because I'm not going to promote that. I won't be, KLM will, have to close down. No, but what does it mean, drugs, in a certain sense, is if you're exhausted, you're like dead in the gates, right? So proper sleep is a drug, right? Some say it's lichachila not to have anything before you daven, but I have a glass of water, I hydrate, so I'm not like, brain dead, God forbid, right? So anyhow, number one, to be present and turned on, even though you're doing the same thing again and again and again, is drugs, meaning you have to get your physical self in shape. Okay, that's whatever it takes. All right, that's number one. Okay, other suggestions? How do you do it like it was the first time, like you were commanded by Hashem? Yeah. Oh, okay, I'm going to go to that one next. Okay, so let me tell you, Elton Bondi, remember him? Yeah. So I spoke to Elton, and he's a wonderful man in South Africa, and one of his friends, his son was in Gaza, right, in combat, and he came back. The son came back, and the father's obviously curious, like, what's going on there? What's it like? And listen to what the kid said. He says, I have no idea. All I did, they have, I guess, some sort of microphone or ear thing in their helmet. He says, all I did was two things. I listened to whatever the commander was saying, and I was constantly like this, making sure no, a piece of garbage came out of a tunnel. In other words, that a terrorist didn't jump out at me. That's the whole time. I just was listening and doing whatever he said, and I was on guard of somebody, blindsiding me. That's his thing. Okay. So he said, my wife, the thing is this is when you're doing a mitzvah, if you're conscious of the commander, okay, the commander, right, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and how does he? Where are the commands? It's in the Mishnah Berurah and the Halacha. But basically, you're saying Ashrei is important. I need to be present, right? Say it with Kavanah. Don't say it by rote, right? Those are the instructions, right? And then I'm looking out like a hawk. I'm making sure that I'm not getting distracted. I'm not looking around here, but just realize that there's really not too much difference between Hamas and the Yetzer Hara. The Yetzer Hara gets paid good money to get you distracted, right? So can you imagine this? But now, let me take it. So number one is to feel the commanders behind you calling out the orders and to realize you're in enemy territory, okay? You can get distracted anytime. Now, if you take that seriously, I promise you'll have a better Ashrei. But now let's go to another reason, all based on this. Rahman Islam, right? The building fell on the soldiers just recently, the Yamak Shemam, right? This is horrible. And I'm glad that they post pictures of these sweet, beautiful kids, 20, 21, who are now dead. Horrible, right? But we have to realize, if we believe what it says, that the Torah is Magen and Matzlah, it shields us, it protects. We could be affecting so many people right now, all right? This is what we're doing, right? So I encourage you that you need to make a sense of urgency. It's for real. Who is the ultimate commander? Who is the commander-in-chief of everybody? Kadosh Baruch Hu. If he sees us upping our game because we care about these other Jews, Ahavta L'Reacha Kamocha, have that in mind, right? If he cares, if he sees that, I won't be surprised if things start moving better and less of that happening. Okay, so anyhow, that's a little bit of a heavy instruction. So what do we have? We have, if we want to be present, right, and do it not like Aaron HaCohen was there all the time. See, the thing is this: when we do it on automatic pilot and habit, I don't want to be heavy, but it's not parv. Okay, first of all, I want to praise anyone who shows up and says Ashrei on a daily basis. Mwah! They are praiseworthy, but if they're doing it like a rowboat, it's not it is not parv. The Navi says, mitzvahs anashima, if you do it by rote, the Navi is, I don't even want to get into it. It's not good to just show up. But beware of evop. On the same time, you might get motivated. I hope you'll be motivated after you hear this. And then let's say you get to Ashra, oh, I forgot to do it. Or you do it this day and it doesn't work. Don't worry. Now you should know the game has changed. And there are going to be forces trying to get you to not do it, not to show up each time. When I say show up, I mean really show up and really be present. Beware of evop, but keep fighting, okay? So that's so what if I were to abstract this is to realize that kasher tziva Hashem, we are being commanded in the moment, okay? It says in Kriya Shema, every day you should do it like you just heard it at Sinai. Shem has a high bar, all your heart, all your Hashem has a high bar, but you look at you. You're successful. You accomplish things. You take things seriously. So Hashem wants you. He doesn't want you to exit like half baked. Okay. So that's the key suggestion. I had one more. Okay. Rabbi Green told us years ago. He obviously grappling with this idea about being present every time. That's what I want to ask. I want to put it to the people in show business, right? Yeah, okay. No, seriously. Let's take actors. Actors are doing the same darn script every single day. Especially in theater, it's the same run. They keep going again and again and again. Now, somebody shows up, right? If they're like, he's just like doing it mechanically, they probably don't do that. I'm doing research on that. But yeah, so let me ask you that. No, let me tell you the story first. Sir Alec Guinness, is he of blessed memory or is he still around? Who knows?
He does.
He does. Okay. His wife, maybe. Sir Alec Guinness, he got some award, as probably he got many. And for his acceptance speech, they say, this is what Rabbi Green said, he said, good evening, 98 different ways. You hear that? That's somebody who's got something going on inside, right? Good evening, good evening, etc. You hear? So, and then I want to ask you guys if you have any tips, okay? But what I took from that, one thing I took from the good evening is, first of all, it's possible. You have to just change it up a little, right? And you're in a different situation, but I was thinking like this. What is one of the things that helps the performer? The audience, right? There's a new audience, and he knows that he's getting paid to do a great job, right? So just thinking that we could just think that there is an audience when we are praying. Who's the audience? Hashem, okay? But also when you say, for example, when you say Aleinu L'Shabeach, it says there's a host of malachim that Hashem, if you will, they come to hear us say Aleinu. And Hashem says, listen, look how they're praising me. You hear? So utilize that you are not in a vacuum when you're doing this. You're not all in your own little head or your whole own little world. There's an audience to what we're doing. That's something that occurs to me. Does anybody have any insights? Perry, it doesn't have to be from me.
They do the shows. They do Kavanah.
They do. Do you any thoughts on how they maintain it every time?
The audience.
It is the audience. Yeah, the audience gets
the audience doesn't give them that acceptance normally. It's all about the audience.
I hear that.
To the point where many artists they don't want in the front rows because the rich people get the tickets.
Right.
Like Billy Joel, he sends his tour manager to go out to the front of the show, to go to the last row of the show, and give out all the tickets for the front row. You can't sell his front row shows, only because it's the people's enthusiasm.
Because that will spur him on.
The spotlight's in his eyes, so then he can see it.
Oh, this is great.
So he can only play. He plays to the front row, and that's what motivates him. So seeing some rich guy up there.
Let me just make sure. I don't know if everyone can hear, so I'm just going to repeat that. David, I won't say his last name, but David said is let's take Billy Joel. So he's saying that what is the secret to be on? The audience has a big impact, okay? And so therefore, if the front row where the people who have a lot of money get their tickets, but if it's empty, it will affect his performance. So he tells the guy he's working for, bring some people from the back, fill up the front row.
You're not allowed to sell us front row tickets. You're not allowed to sell us tickets.
Uh-huh.
And I've had many artists over the years like, that guy in the front row is pissing me off.
Right. Usually they're behaving. They're present.
No, because his wife made him come to the show,
Right.
Enthused,
Right. So here, but I want to say that's what a rock star does. But listen to this. Our greats, again, the HaCohens, okay? Now, again, we should use the audience effect, realizing there's either Malachim or Kadosh Baruch Hu is our audience, okay? Use it. But you know what? This is one of the most amazing stories. I think it was Rev Shimshon Raphael Hirsch. I think it was him or a Talmud of his. So he...
Billy Joel.
Yeah, a little different. So what happened? He gave a talk in... I'm guessing Vilna. Okay, I don't remember the details, but there was maybe one person that showed up for the talk, like really, really low number of people, one or two. But he said, okay, there's one here, right? Like one or two. And he gave a talk as if the place was packed.
He was the next speaker.
He was the speaker, yeah.
The guy in the audience was the next speaker.
Oh, no, yeah, right. That would be bad, right? But listen to this. There's only one guy. Okay, let me just be relaxed. He gave it like it was packed. You know who was in the women's section? Sarah Schneerer, the woman who founded the Beis Yaakov movement. She heard that shir, and it changed her life, and she changed Kol Yisrael's life. You hear? So let's go beyond Billy Joel. By the way, he should have a refuah shlema, okay? But let's go beyond and realize that we can do it. And you never know the effect, especially since Hashem runs the world and the influence in the world. Yes, Avram.
Regarding the question I have a roommate that concentrates very well
When he's doing what?
when he's studying Torah.
Okay.
And he learns by himself, so I asked him how he's so successful. So he's very connected, and he told me he's like answering like he didn't understand my question. He said, "What do you mean? It says in the Gemara when you're learning, Hashem's sitting next to you, in front of you." He says, God's standing in front of me, and he's listening to me learn. So how can I not concentrate?
Oh, beautiful.
So I think if we think about this idea, our
Exactly.
imagination could change.
Yeah. Or actually, our realization as opposed to imagining.
Right.
Yeah, what we just heard is there's someone who studies Torah really well, consistently, totally involved, even if he doesn't have a Rusa, which is, I can test, is very hard, right? So Avram asked him, what's your secret? He says, what do you mean, what's my secret? When I'm learning Torah, Hashem is right there. It says this in Pirkei Avos. Even when you're learning one person, the divine presence is there. So Hashem's right there. How can I not be present? Okay? So let's use that. Let's use the audience. And let's use anything we can. And please God, we should be Zocha to head towards Aaron HaCohen, who is on every single time. And remember, don't forget this consciousness of the commander. We're being commanded in the moment, and we are also in enemy territory, okay? And just remember, who knows how much good it could do, especially if we have Kavanah, that we're going to increase our focus and engagement in order that Hashem have Rachmanas and protect Klal Yisrael and bring the Geula.
Shir shir chadash, u'v'nai